Welcome to another edition of Jobs and Bobs. It is June 26, 2016. Of all the sights and sounds to be seen and heard, you are here with us on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening. I am Andy.
And I'm Andrew.
And I am Shane.
Woo!
Woo.
Today, we're talking about Roman Reigns' positive drug test. Oh no. And the Cruiserweight Classic. Let's get to it.
And our Chops and Pops of the week. And that's
Well.
So Roman Reigns, he failed a piss test. So what should we talk about?
I knew it.
I mean,
knew it.
There's a couple different things. Is it a conspiracy theory?
Is it a work?
Is it a work? There's, if this is real, did this guy really just screw up that bad? Is this a political move? You know what I mean? If it is real, what drugs did he test positive for it? There's a lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to start with Andrew. Andrew, what should we talk about when talking about Roman Reigns failing this drug test?
I hate being too vanilla, but the truth is is a combination of all of those things you just mentioned because, you hear and you can just think of all of these different things like the last few times they've busted guys for these drugs. It hasn't been any of the main event players who the IWC thinks are Vince's boys or Triple H's boys, and now just giving a 30-day suspension to someone like Roman Reigns kind of balances it out that it's not just, Connor or Adam Rose or, whatever. This is a main event player. Could it be also a work that they...
Well, that's kind of what it leads into, is that if you're going to talk about the rankings of people on the roster where it's like guys low on the totem pole like Adam Rose or Connor, and then it's your top guy, literally your top guy, the guy who just main evented the largest WrestleMania of all time, your top guy failing, that's what leads it into, okay, this kind of looks like a political move now. Or is this just fate to where the lowest guy is on the card and the top guy on the card failed at the same time?
Exactly. It could also be a work so they could push.
Okay, let's look at that. How do you feel, okay, Andy, how do you feel about with it being a work? If that were to be true, what do you see from the political move that WWE could be making to save face with the attention they created with Adam Rose's?
Well, maybe they're just really pulling the trigger on Roman Reigns being heel. I mean, because he was kind of playing.
So, are you saying it's like a reality crossover thing where the storyline is being reality?
I mean, they already don't like him. I mean, it didn't work as a face. It didn't. The crowd just didn't react to it the right way. Well, at least live shows. I mean, I can't speak for all the children out there who are actually fans of Roman Reigns. And I mean, I'm a fan of Roman Reigns. I like his matches. He's put on a lot of good matches, which you can check out.
I feel like there's some intimidation with Roman Reigns fans because for me and Andrew, when we were sitting, we had floor seats at WrestleMania this year, and there were people who wanted to cheer Roman. And when the Roman chants started, it was like they were kind of too afraid to join in because of the people that surrounded that. You know what I'm saying?
And it's been
I'm not
that
saying
way.
People are getting bullied at WWE shows. I'm just saying that, there are people there that want to support Roman who just aren't making noise.
Can I say that I felt that at WrestleMania 29 with Rock and Cena?
Wanting to cheer Cena?
I was cheering Cena, but I was
cheering Cena,
very much overdone by Rock fans.
Right.
And I was like, I don't even care about The Rock. Cena, and this guy turns and starts yelling Cena sucks, and we're yelling Cena, let's go Cena, and it's like, are we gonna fight this guy? Is this what's gonna happen?
Legit? I think it's been getting better though with Roman Reigns fans. I think you've definitely been hearing more Roman chants, and rightfully so. I've thought I heard on Monday during that opening segment a few yes he can chants in retaliation of the you can't wrestle, and I was like, what? Is it finally happening? Is the revolution? But,
well, that's what I mean. I think the heel works because you could see him getting more angry and reacting to the fans. Normally Roman Reigns is calm and you're just kind of come on.
But he's not a heel. So.
But he's you're seeing it start to get under his skin.
It's starting to get under his skin. So why not? Okay, so maybe he tested positive for the drug test. Let's use this. Okay, they don't like him. Let's give him a reason not to like him. Seth Rollins comes out, Roman, you couldn't even handle yourself. What did you have to do that you couldn't deal with these fans? I could deal with these fans, blah, blah, blah. You're not strong enough to do that, Roman? You're not able to,
Yeah, but even if you want to make him heel, that's one thing you want to stay away from. Is the one thing you would boo him for is that he's not strong enough.
Yeah.
They always want to
Yeah.
make him
He's
look
so strong.
enough. Yeah,
He's so
he's
strong.
super
Yeah.
strong. He's
Yeah.
super Roman. Super duper Roman.
I just think they could use it to their advantage.
I think they definitely will
For-
too. And you think that, there's no one that's going to be at this show tomorrow night that hasn't heard of the news. And they can't just say Roman got injured or make something up.
Yeah, but they've already kind of had to address it because we're recording this on Sunday. SmackDown has already aired, and there's already a handful of shows that the WWE Network or just WWE in general puts out, like This Week in WWE or like Main Event or Superstars. And they're talking about the main event. They're
Right.
showing the segments with Dean and Rollins, and they're talking about it being a triple threat. And it's just kind of seeming like they're just not going to address the elephant in the room.
They can't do
They're
that.
just literally like, okay, and this is what happened with Rollins, and he's pretty pissed with Ambrose, and we're getting this triple threat. And that's all it said. You know what I mean? And they're getting away with that. So who knows? Maybe Raw is where they turn a new page and, they address it in some way, shape, or form. But they're kind of getting around it right now.
Yeah, but
It's weird.
I just see it playing out differently. I think they come out and I think surprisingly they're going to call it like exactly what it is, and then just say, they're behind closed doors. They're like, well, we can't hide. This is the media age. Everybody knows everything about everything, and we can't say one thing when everybody knows it was drugs. So we'll just say he's suspended for whatever, and then we find out for sure what their play is with it, whether it's a work or a political stunt, or basically just let's make Roman human again, or make him heel. I don't
What do
know.
you think he did? Like, what was it? Like,
Deer antler spray.
It could be anything because of
literally-
what they talked about with
Yeah.
Adam Rose. That it could just be some sort of miscommunication with a prescription
right.
that is nothing more than Adderall.
Mm.
That he was totally okayed by a doctor, and it's some sort of miscommunication with paperwork, and Roman is just not wanting to create the stir that Adam did. You know what I
Right.
mean? But there's two different things to kind of cover, so that's what I kind of want to get like a feel for is let's go around in a circle and say whether you think it's a work or not, and then let's go around in a circle pretending it's real, or it's not really pretending, accepting, I
Right.
guess, that it's real and this is reality, and no matter what drug it was for, him failing, you addressing that being real life and Roman making that mistake. So, starting with Andy, do you think this is a work?
I hope to God it is for Roman's sake, because if it's not, man, did he just goof. Because you literally go from main eventing the last two WrestleManias,
The largest
Yeah.
WrestleMania of all time.
and one of
Being the guy.
and WrestleMania 31 being one of my more favorite WrestleManias, only topped by 30 just because of the Daniel Bryan thing. Oh man, and I just this could really. I hope it's a work, but I have a feeling that it's a shoot. I have a feeling that it's.
You really do feel Roman
I've-
fit. Now, here's the other thing: is even if it's legitimate that Roman effed up,
Hmm.
what if it's the part like us calling it a work might not necessarily be the best way of describing ourselves? Because what if it's that Roman did fail a wellness test, but that he's been failing a wellness test, and only now is WWE wanting to punish him?
Yeah.
Right.
That could be the other part to
Also
it too.
true.
You know what I mean?
Does a wellness test also cover
That Roman could have never passed a test,
Right.
but only now are they deciding to bring it to light.
Does that also cover like injuries, or is it just strictly drug testing, like a wellness test? Does that also cover like concussions or stuff like that?
No. It's nothing to do with your health. Wellness just means you have failed for some sort of prescription
All
that
right.
you are not legal to take.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
anything. We don't know what the drug is. But so you're saying for his sake you hope it is, but you don't
Yeah,
think it is.
I don't think it is. I think he might have just like I think, like I was saying before, how like I think like it's starting to get to him. I think it actually got to him, and he
Yeah.
was like coping.
He's working hard, and
Yeah.
it's not that that's an excuse, but
Yeah.
It's tough at the top.
yeah. Andrew?
I think it's a combination. Like I said, I think it is a work, and I think it's also true. I think he definitely did fail it, and I don't think that anybody was trying to cover it up. I think he was caught. But I also think it's a work because they don't want the first ever Shield triple threat match being at Battleground when, it should be at SummerSlam. And I think they could use this to their advantage in doing that. So they could make another meaningless match between Rollins and Ambrose, and it doesn't matter who wins at that point. But then 30 days is only 30 days, and then biggest match of the summer happens at the biggest event of the summer. So I think it works out for him.
For the most part, I agree with you. Just that I think it's what I was saying before, that I think that he probably could have failed for a couple things that they've let him slip by. And I don't want to come across as like the conspiracy theory podcast and like that everything's a lie. It's just that the timing of, not having anybody fail for 4 years straight.
Yeah.
Adam Rose creating all this attention, with his arrest and everything that was in the press. And then all of a sudden the guy who represents your company is taking the bullet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's definitely a political move, whether Roman would have failed before, whether he's failing now. And in terms of if this is real life and if he just failed now and, accepting this for what they're telling us, it's the biggest mistake you can make.
Mm-hmm.
He was on top of the world. So if this is all real, dude messed up.
Yep.
Even if it is just a 30-day suspension.
Definitely did mess up.
It's the worst mistake, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst mistakes you can make while, being at the top of your game. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Roman.
A lot of Roman.
A lot of people won't want to take 11 minutes of Roman.
So let's move forward to the future of
Speaking
WWE.
of the big guys,
So let's switch gears
little guys.
to people under 205 pounds. It's the Cruiserweight Classic. They started shooting it. Oh my golly. But you're probably wondering, who's in the Cruiserweight Classic? Well,
gee,
luckily
guys.
for you.
Probably not. People have the internet. But we're talking about it.
So we're talking about it. So let's go over who's in the Cruiserweight Classic.
All right.
I hope I don't butcher all of these names, but it's possible, and I'm sorry.
And we're not going to know a good handful of them. We're just going to move
Right.
on. We're not going to sit on 32 names. But let's talk about the people that stand out, because this whole Cruiserweight Classic thing is a big deal.
Oh,
I don't know about you guys, but it's the most excited I've been for anything WWE in a little bit. And it's I'm looking forward to it more than anything else in wrestling right now.
Understood.
Except for maybe Ultima Lucha, but that's going to be over soon. So
All right. Akira Tozawa.
yes, Kiro Tozawa, he's a veteran from Japan. He wrestles for Dragon Gate. He's made a couple trips over to the U.S. for mostly Dragon Gate USA, so he has wrestled in America. He also wrestled in PWG last year. He's very good. He's very talented. There's plenty of guys I could rant and rave about from Japan, but the most unique thing is that he's from the Dragon Gate crew, because there's so many guys coming from New Japan, and you're hearing so much about that, and even a couple guys coming from Noah. Dragon Gate is more like Apollo Crews, Ricochet. They all came from Dragon Gate, so Kiro Tozawa, he's somebody definitely to look out for.
Alejandro Says.
I have no idea. Move on.
Neither do I.
Anthony Bennett.
No idea. Move on.
Arya Daivari.
Keep it move. Well, no, that's Sean Devari's brother. That's really mostly what he's known for. But I had faith in Sean Devari, so could run in the family.
You might know this guy, Brian Kendrick.
You guys talk about him, because I'm going to be the guy mostly talking about indie guys. So
He's small.
He trained Eva Marie, and he's also part of the longest reigning tag team champion in recent history.
I'd give him
London?
that credit before.
I think
Eva
that's more
Marie.
important.
Did he get a free pass because he trained Eva Marie? Like, oh God, you've been through hell. Here, have this spot in the one of the
Maybe.
best things.
He
Maybe.
looks really angry, according to his
After
intro.
training Eva. That's
Yeah.
what's pissed him off. He's like, God damn it, you give me her?
Like hitting himself in the face, because they only got like 10 seconds to like kind of show who they were, and he was just angry. That was his
That's
character
his-
trait,
yeah.
anger.
Rage.
I miss London and Kendrick. That was a great tag team.
Cedric Alexander.
You know Cedric because he kicked a girl in the face.
Man, in the face. Did you hear, though? It kicked her in the face.
In the
Tell the
face.
story. Where it was, what happened.
We were in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens, and it was a Ring of Honor show. I don't remember the name of the show.
All-Star Extravaganza. It was where Michael Elgin dropped the title to Jay Briscoe.
And Jay Lethal was scheduled to fight
It was when he was only television champion and not
Right.
world champion yet, and he was defending the TV title against Cedric Alexander.
And he fought Cedric Alexander, who back then I think he was like nobody.
No,
He wasn't, like,
he's been starting to
as
make
developed.
a name for himself for the past couple years. Definitely getting way more attention for being in the Cruiserweight Classic. He's had to drop a considerable amount of weight. Nothing crazy, but I mean, like, he was a little bit bigger for being shorter. Dropped down to be under 205 for the Classic. But no, he started making a name for himself. He was in a tag team with Caprice Coleman.
Okay.
It was Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander as a tag team in Ring of Honor. They did okay. They did pretty well, and he was doing well with that. And when they split into singles, I don't want to say it was like a Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty situation, but if it was, Cedric Alexander was the Shawn Michaels.
He had a
No offense to
he had a
Caprice
killer
Coleman.
match with Jay Lethal that night.
Yeah.
It was
It was
great
the- it was the
match.
match of the
yeah,
night.
definitely the match of
Yeah.
the night. And that included AJ Styles.
Stop it.
Yeah.
It did.
It
I
did.
was actually, I was like, that's AJ Styles? Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
All right, but that's
All right.
Cedric Alexander.
Right.
He's somebody to look out for. He's been in Ring
Mhm.
of Honor, making a name for himself, and a lot of people know him.
Oh, God. I'm sorry for this guy's last name. Clement Petiot
Keep it moving. No idea.
Damac.
DeMac. I thought he was Willie Mack, and
Yeah.
maybe thought they were just calling him that. Come to find out, it's some little tiny kid. And No.
It's not the Mac.
No,
No.
Willie Mack's a lot better.
Damian Slater. Don't know him.
Keep it moving.
Moving
I have
on.
no idea.
Oh, I know this guy. Drew Gulak.
Drew
Our
Gulak.
boy.
Amazing.
Our favorite here at Chops and Pops.
He's my boy, Goo.
He's
my
got it
boy.
all. He's got it all.
You know what? Me and Andrew could do a whole show talking about how good Drew Gulak is, but one of the things I want to point out is some of the pictures that people were able to sneak with their cell phones at the Cruiserweight Classic showed new ring attire that Gulak was sporting for the tournament.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Is he
Looked
wearing elbow
awesome.
pads? Knee
It
pads?
looked like, the best thing I could compare it to? Remember, and I couldn't even tell you what, like, thing it was from it, but remember when Legos had, like, castles?
Right.
Remember how they would have knights?
Mm-hmm.
He looks like the attire of, like, a knight from
Huh.
Legos. Like, it was like this black robe thing, and I could
Mm.
just picture him, like if it doesn't get too gimmicky, that, like,
Right.
the knight look could work really well for him.
Nice.
But yeah, Gulak's awesome. Gulak, again, since I'd talk about a lot of indie guys, what do you think, Andrew, after going to Dojo Wars and seeing him almost on a weekly basis, your feelings about Drew Gulak?
I love that for his size and especially being a cruiserweight. I love that he's a technician. He's an in-ring technician. He's not a flyer. He's a holder, and he's like how Dean Malenko was. And you watching him, it's like going to work. It's like being in class. It's like
It's
watching.
like he grabs the lunch pail and it's 9 to 5.
Yeah.
He gets the job done.
One
sort
of the best
thing.
things I loved. It was just that he is an in-ring specialist, and I know that is something that if they're going to bring a lot of these other guys, I'm sure some of the names we've mentioned that we just kind of glossed over, they're more speedsters, high flyers, and all in between the ropes type of divers and stuff. Gulak, I think, could be more like the revival to the American Alpha, like stuff like that. Like he's the wrestler.
The Rock. Not The Rock.
Yeah,
Dwayne
yeah.
Johnson, The Rock, but
Yeah.
that solid foundation that
Yeah.
you need in order to do the flipping and the dipping.
And that's why I hate that I don't know most of the other guys, because I like Cedric Alexander. I think he was a great, from the handful of matches I've seen in ROH, I loved
Very
him.
good.
So is another one of those
I'm excited for
great
him.
wrestlers.
'Cause I
Now
know
he-
him.
Here's one of the things I'm worried about being a Gulak fan, and I'm wondering if you're worried too. With how much praise Zack Sabre Jr. gets, and the fact that Zack Sabre Jr. is the other mat technician, that ground worker, that there's only going to be one ground worker. Like I don't think they're going to have the finals be two mat technicians for the Cruiserweight class. It's going to be the grounded guy and the high flyer. It's either going to be Gulak or Sabre, and I feel like they're going to face each other too.
That would be so phenomenal.
And fingers crossed, I feel like WWE is actually just going to use Sabre with all of his hype to put Gulak over and Gulak be the WWE guy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I was
and
thinking
if that happens, I'll be so happy.
Because that's the one thing that Gulak is lacking that is a lot different from Zack Sabre is all of the hype. Sabre obviously having such a high profile from wrestling around the world and having matches already with Nakamura, and like
that he has all that height.
Yeah.
But the people who know Gulak love him.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't know about Gulak the way they know about Sabre Jr.
Exactly.
And if you put them against each other, showing they're equals, and Gulak wins, that's perfect to get
Can you
him
believe
over.
that we're talking about this?
I know. Well, 2016. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the other thing, is our year-end show this year is going to be much better in terms of our crystal ball predictions for 2017, because I'm going to be a lot bolder. Like, I played it safe way too much, because when we started 2016, would have never guessed AJ Styles would be immediately thrown into the main roster of the WWE and start main eventing.
Right.
And Drew Gulak would be on WWE TV. Like, I'm going to make some bold predictions for 2017.
Let's go to the next guy in the list.
Yeah.
Fabian
Keep it moving. I have no idea.
Gran Metalik.
He's from CMLL, but I don't know much more past that. I just know he's legit from Mexico.
Nice. Gurv Sira.
Keep it moving.
And apparently his brother, Harv Sira.
That would probably mean that's the Bollywood Boys.
Bollywood Boys.
I know about that tag team from Global Force, Jeff Jarrett's company.
No.
Other than the fact that they're the tag team, the Bollywood Boys, I know nothing.
They did a stupid dance when they got in the ring.
That
made me
too,
angry.
Yeah, too hokey.
They're going to lose badly.
Yes, they are.
Ho Ho Lun.
Funny name.
Ho Ho
Keep
Lun.
it moving.
Jack Gallagher.
He's the guy with the funny mustache that had that funny look that I told you about. He has a good look. Never seen him wrestle, though. So, he could be somebody fun to watch.
All right. Jason Lee.
No idea.
Is he
Heard
the
he's a
actor?
Bruce Lee fan.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. That guy.
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano.
You guys take it away.
Johnny Wrestling.
I love watching him wrestle.
Johnny Wrestling.
I do. He's been like, I think they've been really underrated. It's been like a year they've been in the NXT, right?
They're not using him nearly enough.
No, and they're so over. I think they just had a great match with the other two. TM 61, is it?
Yeah.
TMDK from Pro Wrestling Noah. Yeah.
Yeah, they just had a great tag match that I really enjoyed watching. I love watching Gargano and Ciampa.
I forgot about them because you never see Noah or anything like that. I feel like you'd be a big fan of well, they're going to call him TM61 now.
Yeah.
TM61.
It's a
Very
lot
good.
of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Another set of in-ring technicians. But they bring more of an all-around style, I think. I'm saying they. I mean Gargano in this instance, but also Ciampa.
I just love Johnny. I like him, and
I remember when they debuted as a tag team, you said you like Gargano more than Ciampa.
He just, I feel like I clicked with him better. Just Ciampa seemed angry, and I don't really like that sometimes. Like, he didn't seem like angry enough. Like, he was just mad. He was just like road rage, like someone like cut him off. I was like, come on.
Like, he wasn't putting the anger to good use. He was
Yeah.
just pissed off because somebody got him angry. Right.
What? Kick the floor.
Gotcha.
And then and Johnny Wrestling, the clapping. I like the clapping.
It's always a good thing to have wrestling as part of your nickname.
Mm.
Mr. Wrestling, you know.
Kevin Steen, yeah. Who else is on that
Kenneth
list?
Johnson.
No, nothing.
You might know this fellow.
Hmm.
Kota Ibushi.
One of the best in the world. It's an interesting situation where Kota's at right now in his career, because at the end of the year last year, he dropped out of wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom because of some sort of serious back injury. Since then, he's come back and is working a very light schedule, and supposedly has made it clear that he doesn't really want to work a high wrestling rate anymore, which is a shame, because some of his high worked matches are some of the best I've ever seen. A match that everybody would recommend if you're unfamiliar with Ibushi and you're checking out the tournament is to watch his match with Shinsuke Nakamura from Wrestle Kingdom last year. Unbelievable match. And Ibushi, he's capable of anything. He's smooth as hell in the ring. His high-flying technique is kind of similar to the type of... it sounds cheesy, but excellently executed in the way that they would say about Bret Hart. The way I see Kota Ibushi move around as a high flyer reminds me of Owen Hart. It really does. Just that fluid motion of just flawless movement. I could talk about Ibushi for days. Regardless of the personal attachment I have of wanting to root for Drew Gulak, Kota Ibushi is the guy I want to pull through because he's just the best talent out of this whole tournament. You could go through any name on that list and we could break it down, even Zack Sabre Jr. I truly believe Kota Ibushi is the best person in this entire tournament.
Nice. So the next name is something I hope Lince Dorado.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, right.
Lince.
I
Yeah.
was going to say Lince, and I'm like, that's not right.
He's he wrestles in Evolve Wrestling and FIP, which is down in Florida. So he mostly wrestles for Gabe Sapolsky. I think I've heard he's from New Jersey. He's always stood out to me. There was one match in particular that nobody seemed to talk about. That was him and AR Fox in Evolve. It was down in Florida a couple years ago, and they had this incredible match. And that's a good way that I would describe Lince Dorado. Very underrated and very overlooked, and could easily go to the finals of this tournament, and it makes sense.
I think Triple H really likes Evolve.
Yeah, he's a huge Evolve fan. I've been watching them for years. They were the one indie that I followed. Like, for some reason, I was sheltered to all the popular stuff. Like, when PWG was making waves, like, I was just starting to find out about it right after everybody else did.
Yeah.
And even the same thing, like, I never really watched CZW that heavy until I finally took a look at it. Evolve, the second I heard about it, I was buying their pay-per-views and watching, like, every single one. And it was actually only up until when they started working with the WWE I stopped watching them for some reason. But, yeah, Evolve is good. A lot of good shows.
It's only a matter of time before they're on the network.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset.
That's where they show everybody's clips from. If you noticed, anybody who's come from there, it's like highlights from their previous work done in Evolve.
Mustafa Ali.
No idea.
Mustafa Yustapa. Noam Dar.
Noam Dar, he wrestled in ICW. I don't know a lot about him, and he's somebody that's made a name for himself on the indies, especially in Europe and especially through ICW. But I'm kind of late to the party. But I am aware of him. I have watched one of his matches. Very unique. He has this unique brand of charisma that they just need to give him enough TV time. And if you start to get to know him, he's gonna be one of your favorites. Just because he's that guy you have to keep watching and you want to see more of, which is a good thing.
Raul Mendoza.
Man.
Next, Rich Swann.
Hey, my buddy.
I like him. They don't use him enough either on NXT.
Yeah. I feel like they signed him with the best intentions, and then right after signing him realized they wanted to do the Cruiserweight Classic, and then we're like, we'll just wait till we do that, and we'll start using you. But Rich Swann, he's incredible. I watched him wrestle in Dragon Gate when I went to Japan. I got to meet him, talk to him. Very nice guy, very funny, very talented. He's a musician. He can play guitar. He can play drums. He can beatbox.
Oh, nice.
Those are all the types of things that WWE can really take advantage of and just slowly but surely unveil to the audience and make you realize, like, not in a goofy, like, R-Truth way of, like, he's going to come out and do his rap.
It's the Golden Tube remix. What up?
Yeah, like, you don't need that. Just show him in a biographical way that, look, this dude is talented. He's a musician. Could probably write his own theme song. And that's, an interesting quality to stand out. But that's just outside the ring. Right. He's incredible in the ring. He's had great matches. Followed his career for years. Been wanting to see him get signed. Good for him. Would love to see him win it.
Sean Maluda. TJ Perkins.
TJ Perkins, Manic from TNA. Or just TJ Perkins, who's wrestled in Ring of Honor for years now, and wrestling in Evolve right now. Talented guy. One of those guys that has just been doing it for so long that you feel like he would have gotten his break already. So you kind of almost started to doubt it. And now that he is, it's like now or never.
Right.
It's like, you've been doing this your whole life, man. If you're not ready now, you never will be,
One of those guys you're just happy that he left TNA.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was good as Manic, but when people are better than that, you want to see better for them. And I think he's actually part of Gulak's group, Catchpoint. Have you heard about Catchpoint?
No.
Catchpoint is Drew Gulak's like stable that he's created that pay homage to like old classic like amateur catch style wrestling. Yeah, so it consists of Drew Gulak, Tracy Williams, Matt Riddle, who is a guy from the UFC who is trying to get into wrestling now. He's part of Catchpoint. Kurt Robinson, who is that 16-year-old kid from Dojo Wars. Remember him? Real skinny guy, had the flippy hair. He wore like amateur wrestling gear.
Yeah.
That's Kurt Robinson. He's underage still and training at the dojo. He's part of Catchpoint with Drew Gulak.
I remember him. He was wearing a singlet.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to get a Catchpoint shirt.
Tajiri.
Yeah, Tajiri.
Of course.
He's been in the WWE. He's been in ECW. I saw Tajiri live back in 1998 when I went to an ECW house show.
Wow. He's one of the old. I think he's the oldest competitor in the field.
I would say so. But he's good, and he can still go. He's been wrestling over in Wrestle One over in Japan.
I thought he was working for the WWE, like behind the scenes or something.
No, what happened was I was actually a really big Tajiri fan, like more than the normal person. But it was around like 2005, 2006. He was having a good mid-card run with the WWE, and he just got homesick because he was never around his wife and children, and he wanted to be around his family. So he decided to just move back home to Japan to be with his family and keep wrestling. So he never stopped. He's been going this entire time, and he's still just as good as he was before. He's just been wrestling in Japan.
Tommaso Ciampa. The Sicilian psychopath.
Yeah. You already expressed how
he's so angry. He's just so mad.
What do you think about him, Andrew, for seeing him in Ring of Honor, then seeing him in NXT? Like, how do you feel about Ciampa?
They didn't ruin. Oh, I can't say it right. His character hasn't been changed in a bad way. They just booked him. It's like they literally just picked him up and booked Ciampa. Exactly. And they said, hey, don't, change anything, but we're just going to put you with Johnny Gargano, and you're going to be one of these tag teams that always, they're like, I guess, gatekeepers. They always give them a run for their money and put on great matches, and they have.
It's like a good hand, as they call it.
I'm not so much like Andy. I can't choose between the two. I really like them both, and I'm going to hate seeing them split, but I think they both put on really good matches.
Yeah.
They make good matches.
It's going to be awesome to see them against each other.
Oh, yeah.
In that main event match.
Tony Nese.
Tony Nese. Tony Nese. He's from Queens.
I'm overdoing it.
He's another guy from Evolve. We saw him, Andrew, when we went to New Orleans, when we saw Evolve Wrestling. Tony Nese was on the card. So was Gargano and Swan and all that.
I thought I remembered Swan's name.
Yeah, Tony Nese was working one of the merch tables, so when we were walking around there, he was just like standing right next to us.
You mean when we were talking to Chris Hero the whole time?
Yeah, Hero. Tony Nese, he's good. He's a little vanilla. He's one of the guys on the indies that even though I thought he looks like a hard worker, he looks like he stays in shape, he looks like he'd probably be the type of guy you'd want to hire and represent your company. And he had decent matches. He never had any matches that stood out, and his look was a little bland. And he had no like real personality in terms of like charisma of cutting a promo. So no matter how good he was in the ring, or no matter how much a booker wanted to book him, Tony Nese is a little vanilla, and I don't feel afraid to say that. Like, I've been trying to consider, like, what if these guys were in the room? Would we have the balls to say half the things we would say?
Of course.
With Tony Nese in the room, I would tell him, dude, you're a little vanilla. You need to work on your character. And you stay healthy. You're a good example. You work hard, but you're vanilla. And you need to work on that, especially if you're going to get a shot with the WWE.
I hope as cool as Tommaso is, if he ever comes here, I never have to tell him that I think he's too angry. I don't want him to hurt me.
I don't think Tommaso's coming over here anytime
Tommaso,
soon.
come over and have some pasta.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Might be one of the choppers and the poppers.
I would gladly cook Ciampa some pasta.
I would.
If that meant he would come over here for an interview.
You hear that, Tommaso?
Yeah, if you're listening.
You want to come over and make some pasta, I will make you some pasta.
Let's just send him a tweet that specifically says, hey,
I'm on it.
I know you probably don't want to listen to some fanboy podcast, but if you cut to this specific time, we're making you a promise that we will cook you pasta. He'll probably just slap us for
Yeah.
attaching to Italian cliches.
We're gonna start
strongly.
recording. You can hear. We're gonna look through the window, and there he is, just glaring menacingly through the window at us.
He would be the type of guy to be outside your window.
Okay.
Ciampa.
Before we get
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 more names on the list. The
Okay.
last 2. It's Tyson Ducks.
Okay, Tyson Dukes.
Dukes.
It's okay.
It's the
all
last,
right.
like the last 4 people.
You know
I
what?
just
These
can't
are
do it.
32 brand new names of people from all over the world. If there's any time you get a mulligan with pronouncing names, it's with this tournament. But
Dukes.
to tell you the truth, Tyson actually, that was one I got wrong. I've learned with Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan announcing, which we haven't even talked about yet.
That's the next part.
Yeah, but when he talked about Tyson Dukes, I've seen him wrestle in Smash Wrestling, which is a popular promotion in Toronto, Canada, and he's good. He's very good, and he's somebody to also look out for.
Final name on the list is Zack Sabre Jr., who we've talked about in length.
Andrew, you talk about him. You know a lot about him.
I've been learning more and more about this guy because you told me months ago, remember that name, and told me to look him up, and I've seen some of his stuff, and he is very. I had a certain word that I used when I was talking to you about him.
Well, here's the thing. Even if you praise him, let's be honest, though, because I want good and bad criticism, because you gave him a strong criticism when you talked to me for the first time after watching him wrestle, that there was one thing that bothered you about Sabre.
Yeah, and I can't remember what the hell. Was it his cardio? Was it that? Somebody's cardio bothered me. I can't
Wait,
remember.
are you joking? You really don't
No,
remember?
I really can't, because it's been a while.
You thought he didn't sell.
Oh,
that's very true, because
of the
he's a very
Shinsuke
stiff
match.
fighter, and when he's fighting stiff and guys are hitting him with other, basic wrestling moves, he doesn't sell them and just goes straight back into offense. And no matter how much you want to praise how good Sabre is in a ring, that could be a legitimate complaint about a lot of fans that are going to be introduced to him for the first time.
I mean, we saw a lot of complaints about not selling with the Will Ospreay versus Ricochet match.
Yeah.
But like Zack Sabre Jr. is one of those that has not just all the talent but in all the areas, but he puts it at a high level. The only thing I really didn't like, especially in the match that I'm remembering, which is his match against Shinsuke, was that he wasn't selling as much as he should have. And when you're facing the King of Strong style, you should sell those kicks and those knees and everything. And
Don't worry. When you don't, Shinsuke is just going to hit you as stiff as he possibly can until you have no other choice but to sell those kicks.
yeah, he's great though. He is he's very agile. He's so athletic, and he's kind of built like me. He's very.
Kurt Angle praised him, and he said the one criticism he had was that he needs to build muscle mass before he starts being taken seriously. Because even if there's smaller guys or guys not as bulked up, there's still a difference between if you're great in a ring, but you're a toothpick.
Yeah, you need to have muscle to be able to absorb some of those hits, and you also need to have muscle just to look like you're some type of athlete or performer, and
to stay healthy to prevent injury.
Oh, for sure. And overall, it just makes him. I've always thought, looking at him, that he looks young. He looks really young, and I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's younger than me,
mid early 20s, something like that.
Yeah, the dude has all the talent in the world. I have no doubt that he's going to make it very far in this tournament, and they're using his name to make a bigger impact with this CWC.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd say if there's only one thing I mentioned without going on like a tangent about him, is just that he has the it factor. And that's a big thing people talk about when, whether you're doing American Idol or whether you're doing a Cruiserweight Classic tournament, that you're trying to find your next star of your company. Sabre, regardless of the hype that fanboys could give him or the Full Sail crowd could give him, he has the it factor. And that's what a lot of people are jumping on his bandwagon for, is because he has that.
I think Andy would like him.
Yeah, I think so.
We will see. We will see. Other quick things about this Cruiserweight Classic. The matches are limited to a 20-minute time limit. And the commentators are...
Oh, and the weight limit. The weight limit is 205.
Yep.
That was a shoot. They supposedly kicked somebody out for being over. So, that's legit.
That's real.
But back to your drum roll.
It's Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. What
What an all-star cast.
It is. It was a good enough show already, and then they add this announce team, and it's just,
Yeah.
this is a good show.
You get the
top
passion,
to bottom.
you get the knowledge and fever of Ranallo, and you get the just joy of Daniel Bryan.
And the knowledge, the education on all these guys and the style of wrestling. You're going to hear a commentator actually call wrestling moves again.
Love it. And it's he calls it like a sports game. Like he calls it like a match. And Daniel Bryan, I think we're going to be hearing him say indie names, and he's going to be saying who he's faced in the past and stuff.
Like think of how Daniel Bryan is going to have a play-by-play type call in the moveset, and Mauro Ranallo was an announce guy for UFC.
Right.
It's going to be as legit of a sports call as you could get for wrestling in 2016, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one other thing I'll point out while recording that I've already mentioned to Andy is that the combination of Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan reminds me of the announce team from Celebrity Deathmatch. And I can't remember their names. It was Nick and Johnny.
Johnny?
It was Johnny, wasn't it? I know it was Nick. Nick and Johnny from Celebrity Deathmatch. Yeah.
We will figure that out.
I don't know.
Because one of them was calling the match.
I don't think anything's going to be a death match on the Cruiserweight Classic.
No, definitely not.
We don't know.
You know
yet.
what? We're like 40 minutes
We're
in. And that's...
Do you want to go over the matches, or we want to save that for next week? Because we still have a couple more episodes before...
We'll save it because the
Okay.
first episode isn't for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
We've
we
got
got
some
time.
we talked about it. We acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to chop some people.
We need to do the choppies.
We need to do the choppies.
Chop, chop.
Chopping broccoli. Chopping. Chopping. Yeah, we can chop.
Chop it good.
Yeah, we can chop. We can get that chopping. So, I'll start the chopping today. I'll be on the proverbial chopping block.
Heyo.
Anyway, so my chop this week comes after Money in the Bank, which was a pretty good show. Well, the second half, pretty good show.
Only the second half.
And it relates to the club, and relates mainly to Anderson getting squashed by John Cena. It makes me really mad. I don't know him very well before this, but I feel like they're supposed to be booked strong. I read some research that he was referred to as Machine Gun.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a pretty intense dude. I heard he was having a pretty good run as a singles wrestler, too. Doesn't seem like the WWE cares at all.
You're not wrong
I couldn't
about
agree with
anything
you
you're
more.
saying right now. You might not have watched New Japan, but everything you're saying is spot on.
It's
You know-
just... And I like them. I like the look of the club. I don't know. I feel like they're just being booked.
There's things
Horribly.
sometimes you can't put your finger on, but you know is right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The club seems like the Foot or something from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like they're the bad guy gang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you still have to do that right. You know?
And friend of the podcast, Steve Zaff, before the club.
Good friend.
Good friend.
Good friend. He told me before they started wrestling, before the club started wrestling in WWE, he's like, I think you're really going to like Machine Gun. He is great. And I saw a few of his matches in Japan, and I was like, this is one of those things where they're bringing him in, and they're going to go right in there with AJ, and it's going to be 3 of the best wrestlers in the company forming a stable. And they have this persona that the commentators play to, and so we know right away they've been in Japan with AJ. They've been great wrestlers. Well, then why are they losing to
Everybody?
everyone? Why aren't
Because
they
you've
putting
never
up a
seen
fight?
that greatness on American television.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like you had to introduce that first before, like, because as much as us, like, we watch Japanese wrestling and we're aware of it, even though the announcers are saying it, the audience has to see it, you know?
Yeah, and what's going to bother me is that, it might be too little too late once they start to actually give them time to be their best, and I get to see the best
That
of Machine
you only
Gun.
get one chance to make a first impression sort of
Exactly.
thing. I
Exactly.
see what you're saying.
Damn it, Andy, you're good.
Thank you. It just, that really bothered me this week. Because, like, the club, they're supposed to be this big, tough group, and John Cena's like, yeah, I'm going to beat him. It's like, no, AJ's like, yeah, no, he's going to beat you. And then he does not.
It's just like...
And to be fair, just to explain both sides of the fence, I went in on rants with you, Andrew, about how AJ Styles lost at Mania and why that made sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's the outsider coming in. So you still have to factor that in when you
Yeah.
have guys like Gallows and Anderson. You can't just have them come from New Japan and just squash your whole roster.
Right.
But there's still that introduction period where you need the American audience to know that they're guys who kick ass and, you know,
What
are
should have happened?
unstoppable.
He should have taken the offensive at first, beaten Cena down a little bit. Cena starts mounting his Super Cena comeback, and then the club comes in, and then
Boom.
the
Or
disqualification
just at
comes
least have the match be longer than 2
in.
minutes.
Yeah.
Like, have him put some offense in.
Because-
and just not have Cena, like, hit him like, on the ground, like, crippled, and Cena's, like, looking around, like, are they coming? Is it now?
At this point...
Okay, bad clothesline. Here we go.
Yeah. At this point, it feels like they could have just replaced the club with 2 other random guys and then given them this quote-unquote backstory of being AJ's boys in Japan, and it would have had the same effect, you know. But except we wouldn't
That's
have
fair.
to. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
to feel bad that you know.
It's
all these-
actually Gallows and
Right.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
and all I see all I'm picturing when I see this happening is the wrestling isn't wrestling, with John Cena just standing there and everybody just exactly.
All right, what's your chop of the week?
My chop is going to something having to do with the CWC.
What?
And it's that traffic accident that I guess they blamed this there was like a time during this where there was like no audience, and they actually blacked out the seating. I think they did for the tapings, and I'm not sure if it was because it was crowded to the point where nobody could get in, like a lot what WrestleMania was. I'm sure it's not, because it's Full Sail and they do this often enough to where it should be normal, but it just became more of a mess for this than it really should have ever been.
For those who are listening and didn't hear, that's the story, is that supposedly there was some sort of car accident on I-4 or something. I-4 might not even be the road in Florida.
Yeah.
I-4 is the one, right?
Could
I know
be.
you could take 95 all the way straight down to Florida. But anyway, there was a car accident, and it was supposedly holding up everybody in Florida, and at least in the Orlando area, and a large portion of the audience that were planning on attending the CWC that night couldn't get in because they didn't arrive to the building yet.
Now,
on
let me
time.
clarify. I'm not chopping, if anybody was hurt during that motor
Well,
vehicle.
right,
like, I'm not
exactly.
saying that. I'm just
Right.
saying it in general happening was, like, the one...
Anything bad happening to CWC, preventing
Exactly.
it from being the show it could be.
Exactly. And, having to black out the crowd. That should never happen at this. But I'm sure it won't, again, hopefully. But it did.
All right, and my chop of the week, we're gonna keep short and sweet and get that pop button ready, because my chop is the same as Andy's. It's squashing Carl Anderson on Raw with John Cena. I don't like using the word squash too much and overusing it, or using it when it's not appropriate, or just getting upset when there's storytelling going on. But that people have to, you have to crack a couple of eggs to whatever that is. How
To
does
make
that
an
say?
omelet.
Yeah, to make
Yep.
an omelet. So it's not really a matter of that. I just think that Carl Anderson could be portrayed in a better light, even with the role he's been given in the club. So, yeah, my chop of the week is just going to be squashing Carl Anderson. So, pop
Boom.
of the
Popping
week.
it. Getting so much better with making that less abrasive to the eardrums.
Get out your bubble wrap. It's time for the pop of the week.
Hey-o.
Handy.
Hey now. So mine's kind of like a two-way tie. They're both, one of them just kind of makes me happy, and the other one was just a great. I love cold opens on Raw, where it just starts with something. And you're like, what's this?
ECW used to do that, and that was my favorite thing in the world. Not even just cold opens of a promo, cold opens in the ring with the live crowd. Love it.
I love this week's Raw with Dean coming out of the cab and then walking away and then having to stop the cab to grab his title. That was really great for me. And my other pop goes to Daniel Bryan and Morrow commentating on this. That's awesome.
Isn't it?
That's like so great. It's
It's going to add so much to an already great thing.
so great. And you know
Just make it its own. And the one thing we didn't mention, Triple H said in a tweet after the tapings, and it didn't even cross my mind because I was thinking of it so much as a TV show for the network, that after the tapings he said, we created a new brand. He's
he did
right.
say that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, CWC could tour, could be a new weekly show, could have its
Mhm.
own pay-per-views, and I would eat it up.
I would too. I'd have it for breakfast.
I think the CWC has to succeed.
Yeah.
I think it needs to succeed. It needs to do better than just be good. It has to be great.
And not even just trying to like name drop and try to sound like guys cooler than we are, but knowing Gulak the way we know him from the dojo,
Mhm.
he's a leader. He's that type of guy that commands a room and can be a coach and a captain.
Screams it.
He could lead all 32 of those guys, and this could be a brand, a fourth brand for the WWE. You
I'd
know?
follow Drew Gulak.
Yeah.
Where would you follow him?
Wherever he may lead. I'm just kidding. It's a little too dramatic.
Andrew, you're popping.
I'm gonna travel back to 1 week ago because I wasn't here recording with you fine gentlemen for this awesome event, but I was at home and
that was last week.
I loved everything that happened that night. There was a huge thing. There were two things. There was Money in the Bank, and there was the NBA Finals, and it was Game 7, and it was the best team in basketball versus, LeBron James, and it was Money in the Bank.
James.
And it was so fun to watch. I hated not being here so I could watch this, but whatever. Anyway, what my pop is...
You got over it quick, is what you're saying.
Yeah, what my pop is specifically is how perfectly, to me, each was like the pace was the exact same. The event and the game, because
That the emotional dynamics went from the lows
well
and highs that the pay-per-view went from. Because the
Exactly.
entire hour and a half of Money in
just
the
going to
Bank,
mention that. Yeah.
boring as hell. And
Mhm.
we didn't see the basketball game, but you're telling us that Game 7 was the same.
It was because it went into halftime, which is about first hour and a half of the game. The Golden State winning, and you're like, oh great, they're up 7. This game's in the bag for the quote unquote best team of all time, and we're just gonna watch the Cavaliers lose again. Boom, second half happens, and what happens? Comebacks. And just like at Money in the Bank, you're like, oh, this thing's starting to pick up. Only in Money in the Bank, you could have seen that from a mile away with how stacked the card was in the second half. And it worked out great.
There was no mixture. There was no, like sometimes one of the main event matches goes on fourth, and you get that high at the middle of the show, and then you get dragged back down by more undercard matches, and it's like a roller coaster.
Right.
This was just, we're going to bore you to tears for an hour and a half, and then we'll give you some crazy good matches.
Yeah, and it was exactly like that. And then
Happy
even
Father's Day.
you had the dream match, you had Cena's, and then oh man, it was so great. And then the Cavaliers winning actually happened, I want to say, a half an hour to 45 minutes before the Ambrose cash in, but it happened after Ambrose had won the briefcase or whatever. It was just perfect. 'Cause
Two very big wins for Ohio.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that would have been better is if Dolph Ziggler actually had a good match. I loved it, and I love the fact that off topic, that LeBron James won a championship. In Cleveland.
So is your pop of the week just a belated celebration of the Cavs and Money in the Bank, or is it that it was the pop of the shows coinciding? So
I've never.
perfectly.
I don't think I'll ever be in a spot, or the world will be in a spot where like the two highest rated things that people would be watching have the same exact momentum going on at the same exact time. So that was special, and that's my pop. It was great.
I like it. My pop of the week, in general, I'm saying it's the launch of the CWC. I'm sounding like a broken record. I'm so excited for it. It's perfect because the one other thing I truly love in wrestling right now is Lucha Underground, and Ultima Lucha Dos is coming up in like 2-3 weeks. So season 2 of Lucha Underground is coming to a close, and upsetting as that is, it's kind of just clearing the way for Cruiserweight Classic to take over Wednesday nights and me to put my full focus on that. So my pop of the week is just it launching and looking as cool as I imagined. But I also got to mention my pop of the week, too, is going to Kevin Sullivan. Yes, the Kevin Sullivan, because he decided to make a surprise appearance this past weekend at Ring of Honor's Best in the World. The lights went out, came back on. Kevin was in the ring during the match with BJ Whitmore and Steve Corino. Stabbed Steve Corino with a spike to the head. Kevin Sullivan, man. Dude creeps me out. Creeps me out. Pop of the week.
All right.
Show's over.
How about that? Thank you so much.
You know what? Just talking about Kevin Sullivan makes me want to end the show.
That's it.
Just
Safe
end it.
drive home.
It's been
everyone.
good. Have fun. Peace out in the Middle East.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, snap with the Toms.
Snap.
Snazzy Pazzy Pants. It's time for the false finish. And it was Johnny and Nick.
It was Johnny and
It
Nick.
was
I
Johnny
knew
and
Nick
Nick.
was right, but I knew, it just hit me as we were talking about it before. And Celebrity Deathmatch is returning to TV within the next few months.
Is it
So-
claymation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I know, anyway.
Amazing.
False finish.
Let's do it. CM Punk's finally going to fight.
Let's talk about it.
We've been talking
Let's
about
talk
it for
about it.
over a year.
Not even over a year. But fun fact for anybody who tuned into our show late, our very first episode we ever taped of this podcast was a photo of CM Punk walking to the octagon.
Oh, God.
So that is the history of CM Punk's journey to the UFC, and the Chops and Pops podcast is we've been doing this show just as long as Punk's been
As we've
talking
been waiting.
about a UFC fight.
Jesus, it's so terrible. We can't even take the monkey off of our backs yet because he hasn't friggin' done it. There's still such a long time for him to get injured and, drop out of this one. And he's not getting any younger.
No.
He's old.
Clock's ticking.
He's facing New Jersey's own Mickey Gall. And
So,
he's,
is he winning?
No.
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 3 no's.
But
Three-no.
it's
I
not
had-
like he doesn't stand any chance. He's been
Right.
training with some good guys, and he's
Right.
been
Right.
training.
And
BJJ's
I'm
whole
not a
life.
hater. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'm not somebody who there's people who want to see Punk get his ass beat and get
Mhm.
his mouth shut up and all that. I'm not one of those people. I thought it was inspiring when he left the WWE. I thought it was very inspirational how he went for just his new goals in life
Mhm.
and went on this new path and this new journey and didn't worry about what other people were going to think. And I thought that was all inspirational. But from a fight perspective, in September, this fight's going to be September 10th, 2016. I don't think Punk's going to win. I
Neither
think
do
he's
I.
going to lose this fight.
I also think that having all that support that he definitely had from people that thought like you, and I think that too. I think the UFC lost out on buys because there's not as many CM Punk haters or supporters as before. A lot of people have gotten over
Do you
it.
think the hype has kind of died down? Do you
Definitely.
think they waited too long? Like,
Absolutely.
in terms of waiting too long, that's two different conversations because waiting too long because of hype is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's waiting too long because you have to train the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy has no experience. He has no history with amateur wrestling or mixed martial arts. Like, you can't really call it waiting too long because of the hype and the press behind it because you need that time to train Punk,
Yeah.
And
also, fight fans are different from, I guess, wrestling fans because you can go a long time without seeing your favorite fighter fight because of things that happen, like injuries or suspensions or stuff like that. It could be a year in between fights. I mean, people that liked Anderson Silva went at least a year and a half without seeing him fight. Whereas wrestling fans, it's like even the biggest injury, less than a year.
Yeah.
But good for Punk. He's finally gonna.
Believe me,
coming out.
we'll be watching. And it's interesting because I never changed my word on, being a fan of his and thinking it was the right move to leave the WWE. But I feel like I was more supportive of him winning when we first started taping this podcast.
Yep.
I feel like for his first UFC fight, we should just edit together everything we've said over the past year about Punk and his UFC fight and see how much
Yes.
it's changed and evolved, with everything that's happened.
I think a lot of it has to come from the news that we find out that he's having problems in training because he keeps not hurting people. He keeps helping people to the ground, and he's he has to
The
learn how to
wrestling
hit
thing,
people,
yeah.
and it's like
He tried to drop an elbow.
And the back surgery,
Yeah.
that was a big game changer. That wasn't known when he first signed to the UFC,
True,
Mhm.
true. He should stick to comic books.
should that was a good book you wrote.
He did do a good job with Thor. I liked it.
Ring of Honor best in the world.
I already mentioned the Kevin Sullivan thing. That was the big shock. I saw the entire card except for the main event, which is the main match I wanted to see, so I can't really comment on it.
Did the Bucks face the not Usos, the Briscoes?
Yes, but I feel like wasn't it a 6-man? No, it couldn't have been. Jay was in the main event with Jay Lethal.
Then what, I don't
And
know
Mark
where I
Briscoe
saw it.
had-
Maybe they're promoting it for it.
Mark had the last match with Roderick Strong.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that was pretty good. But the young Bucks did wrestle. It's escaping me right now who they fought though.
Is there anything?
Or no, maybe they didn't because they were just in Japan. I don't know. But
what
anyway,
stands out? What stands out?
it was mainly the Kevin Sullivan thing, and not just his surprise, but Carino and Whitmer have been building up to that feud for like 3 years now. They did a tremendous job, but that would be what I would say stands out the most, and the fact that Roderick Strong had his last match.
Yeah.
And that's kind of killing two birds with one stone, because that was the other thing we were going to mention, is Strong is out of Ring of Honor now.
He
And-
officially announced it.
Yeah, and the assumption is he's going to NXT, so we'll see.
A bit
And-
too big for the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, I think he would have joined that beforehand. But and you know what? I was going to talk about Ultima Lucha Dos for the false finish, but we have like 2-3 weeks left, and there's nothing major to talk about until the card really forms itself, so we don't have to talk about that. But the last thing to discuss, which, Andrew, I know you haven't seen yet, but AJ Styles, your boy, was on the Stone Cold podcast. Andy, did you see it?
I've seen just the clip about TNA that he said, because that's what I was most concerned about during the whole when I heard about the podcast, was I wanted to know if they were actually going to pull the trigger and talk about TNA.
And they did.
And they did.
They didn't hold back, and it mostly seemed like it's a Stone Cold thing. I mean, I'm sure the WWE knew he was going to take it there, but
Right.
Stone Cold didn't hold back. He dropped Dixie Carter's name. You know, he talked about TNA. He talked about the fact that it was 12 years of his career, or 11. And
I feel like that's the first time anything WWE related that Dixie Carter's been mentioned.
I think so too. I thought about
that's
that.
actually really important.
And the thing that comes to mind for me is I feel like WWE finally got confident enough that TNA is finally at the point where they will never be a threat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even that they were a threat a couple years ago. Even a couple years ago, you would have been fair in saying never. But now it's like, no, you could talk about TNA on the network all day long, and nobody's going to give a shit and watch their show.
If anything, they're helping them. I mean, it's just like...
And Ring of Honor kind of now is the new number 2. I said that months ago, and it's becoming more and more true.
I thought it was when they had a TV deal, but it just...
And they do still. And, in a lot of ways, that TV channel gets to more people than Pop does, from what I understand, because basic cable at my house actually gets the channel Ring of Honor's on. Pop, even with full cable, I wasn't getting it in all the rooms of my house. So, I mean, that's just my own personal experience, but...
Anything else on that podcast?
No, that's it.
That's it.
Unless you guys have anything else you want to add.
No, that's pretty much it.
I mean, sum up the show, Roman Reigns fucked up.
Yep.
Cruiserweight Classic's going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And the WWE has to learn how to use Carl Anderson.
How about that?
Thank
Is that
you.
our show in a nutshell?
That's our show in a nutshell.
right.
So,
What am I doing in this nutshell?
thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. Andrew, we have a Twitter.
We do. And you're going to follow us on it, please. It's at Chops and Pops. And it's all one word, and it's all lowercase, because that's the way cool people do it. They don't use caps, and they don't use underscores, at symbols.
Chops and Pops.
Nice and simple. Follow along. Be the 100th Twitter follower.
You will win a very special prize.
Very
We will
special.
talk about you
Yep.
on our next podcast.
Yep.
Yes.
And
there it is.
subscribe to YouTube so you get our videos and listen to us.
We might even use your picture on our YouTube.
We'll do it. We'll
what do
do
you
it.
say? Hey.
Hey, you know what? There's our prize.
Boom.
Become the 100th,
Hey now.
the 100th follower on our Twitter account. Your face, your picture, your Twitter picture.
Whatever
Be the
picture you
cover
want.
art-
No.
Or-
no.
Yeah.
Don't say that, Andrew. No.
Okay, we'll edit that out.
You in a wrestling pose. Clothed, preferably.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That got strange. I'm Andy.
And I'm Andrew.
And I'm Shane in a nutshell.
Take it easy.
What am I doing in this nutshell?